Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, no matter when you are watching. Welcome to the CWL podcast. I am once again, and hopefully forever, joined by my friend who's fucking ruining his microphone right now. Maxie, how you doing today, bud?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good.
Not too bad, as always.
Great. Thank you.
You sound fantastic.
Yep, I feel like shit, so... I can't breathe through my nose, so a couple of things I just want to say before we start. Like as I just mentioned, I feel like shit. I got a cold, can't breathe through my nose, so I just want to go ahead and apologize for that. Number two is some good news. Since the last show, I actually went to PAX East. It was now not last weekend, but the weekend before, and I bought a new microphone. Fortunately, they were sold out. It was the Audio Technica stand that was very popular. So I bought the arm, the headphones, and the microphone. I got 20% off for the show.
Nice.
Show deal. I was super excited to get that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you can pay for it now, but you're not going to get it for another 3 weeks." So,
Nice.
Yeah, and then I actually got an email on Monday saying that basically it was so popular that the shop is actually out of stock as well, so they're waiting. So it's going to be at least another couple of weeks. I was hoping to get it in before today's show, but it just didn't work out. Anyway,
I did wonder about that actually. So
yeah,
there we go.
So yeah, hopefully that clears up anything like that. I will be tweeting out when I do eventually get it. So if you want to follow me at Stoney, it's S7ONEY on Twitter. I will tweet that out. I probably tweet a couple of pictures, and yeah. So
Yeah, because right now you're just working with your Astro headset mic, right?
yeah, exactly. And yeah, it cuts out and it's inconsistent, and yeah. So I'm eventually looking to start my own stream as well. So when I can get the other pieces of hardware I need, I will be jumping onto that. But as of right now, just one step at a time.
Of course, of course. And so it has obviously been a couple of weeks. Last week we ended up taking a bit of a break. Obviously
Right.
things going on.
Right.
However, before we hop into anything, I'm sure you have something to tell us, Sam.
Oh yeah. I don't know if you've heard of this wonderful service. It's actually offered through Amazon. It's called Audible. It is an amazing service. As I said, not been feeling too well. One of the things I like to do is just relax, listen to audiobooks. I've been listening to Lord of the Rings. Amazing cinematic just feat that they did with the movies. But for me, I just love just listening to the book because you can just close your eyes and I just like picture everything that's happening in my mind as I'm breathing in steam to try and actually breathe through my nose. And yeah, so I hope that creates a nice visual for all you listeners who can't see me right now. Yeah, so head over to audibletrial.com/the CWL podcast. You can sign up. You get 1 month free. You get one Amazon audio. Sorry, you get two Amazon audiobooks. You get one just general audiobook to download. You can keep them on your account even if you don't continue into the paid subscription. So just get 3 free audiobooks. Like why the heck not, really? And while you're on your computer, while you're doing these things, head over to Twitter, follow the show Twitter accounts, the CWL podcast. Follow me. I've already plugged my Twitter, but I'll do it again. It's Stoney, which is S7ONEY. Follow MaDaC. His is MaDaC FBS.
Yep.
And follow our guest. He's going to be on in a couple of minutes. Brian Saintt with 2 T's. Great guy. Looking forward to having a chat with him.
So yeah, it's been like I said, it's been a couple of weeks. So I mean, I'm sure we've been up to a few things. Like you said, you actually went to PAX. Yep. How was that?
It was a lot of fun. It's something that I've always wanted to do. And
what was your highlight?
So I played this VR jousting game.
Okay.
And so there was me and this other dude, and you had to shout to get your horse to go faster. So I was screaming at the microphone, and this guy was being super cocky, like he was talking shit to me, and I beat him. We played 2 best-of-3s, and I beat him in like every match. So
Nice.
I felt really good about that. But it was really fun. And once again, when I do get my hardware all set up, I'm going to look into getting a VR headset and playing some of these ridiculous games.
That sounds just very funny.
One of the other games we played was called it's like Don't Stop Talking and the Bomb Won't Explode, or
Okay, yeah.
something like that. It was very sorry, just coughing. It was very very popular a couple of months ago on stream, and
Yeah.
but basically they're coming out with a phone version, so you could.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. Danielle and we actually played it twice. One time we defused the bomb. The second time we didn't, but we're definitely going to be getting that when it comes out on iOS.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. I definitely did see it a little bit back in when you, like you said, it was a big thing a couple of months ago. So awesome. And worst thing about it?
Oh, smelly people. Lots of smelly people, but you know, it is what it is. So before we do bring Brian in, I do want to go over our predictions from 2 weeks ago.
I don't even remember them.
Well, I'll tell you.
I'm sure you do.
So you predicted 100 Thieves to go 4-0. You predict Reciprocity to go 3-1, and you predicted Denial to go 0-4. I predicted Denial to go 2-2, and I predicted that no team would go 4-0. So you want to hear what happened?
Go ahead.
Denial went 0-4. That's 1 check mark for you. 100 Thieves went 4-0. That's 2 check marks for you. And Reciprocity went 3-1. And so that's 2 check marks, 1 X. So 2 out of 3. That's not bad. I was looking good right up until the very last match of the very last day, because Optic were 3-0 and 100 Thieves were 3-0, so there was no way that I could actually be right, and no team going 4-0.
Right.
100 Thieves just came out hot. I mean, the first
demolished.
Yeah, the hard point and the search were close, but the control was 3-0 to 100 Thieves. I mean, admittedly, each of the 3 rounds were close, but the overall map was not. And 100 Thieves, I would probably rank them as my number 1 team right now going into London. But we'll get into that a little bit more
further down the line.
Yeah, as we get close to London, we start putting out our predictions.
Absolutely. Awesome. So it was pretty successful for me. Why? For some reason, whenever you mute your mic, your camera is also flickering, which is interesting. But anything else before we want to bring Brian in?
No, I'm actually really looking forward to talking to him. And
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's basically ready and waiting. So, I just completely.
Yep, that's not how you spell his name. So we do have a bunch of questions here set out for Brian, but if you are in chat and you do have any more questions, or if you're on Twitter, by all means post them on either of those 2 outlets. If you are watching the pre-recorded version of this show, you can tweet at him, or you can tweet at us, and we can try and get those questions to him, but there's no guarantee that we'll get those. We'll do our best.
Yeah, so obviously with Brian, there's been a lot of things going on recently, with the whole Midnight. He's on Midnight now. United before everything else going on. Thankfully, he has found his home at Midnight, as I just mentioned. So I think it's going to be really interesting. Really good segue. Obviously, being able to talk about London and his thoughts on that as well. So let's try and get him in here right now. Oh,
there we go.
Welcome.
Hey, hello.
How's it going, Brian?
Good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. You play your extra game of League play?
Yeah, free dub.
Nice.
So I see you've been grinding League play with Parasite quite a bit recently.
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit with him. I mean, I haven't been grinding like he has. He plays a shit ton.
Right. Fair enough. So we basically just kicked off the show. We haven't really spoken about a whole bunch yet. We actually last week missed a week for the first time in a little bit. So we're going to be diving into a little bit of what happened in the last week of the CWL.
All right.
But obviously, for the most part, we want to be looking towards what's predictions a little bit for CWL London, talking a little bit obviously about things that have been going on with you specifically, and then towards the end we typically do more of a Q&A. So before we get into any of that though, we do like to start off, I guess, with a pretty similar question actually to, I don't know if you watch Hex's podcast at all.
Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces. I haven't watched like a full episode though.
Perfect. So yeah, we basically like to start off by asking you basically, who are you today and what did you do to get there?
Currently a professional Call of Duty coach for Midnight. I've been involved in COD in the competitive side of things since Call of Duty 4. Played professionally for a little bit in Ghosts and was doing well at the beginning of AW, but I kind of stopped playing after that to focus full-time on school. And came back and started coaching once I finished up college.
Awesome. So you've graduated school now?
Yeah, I graduated 2 years ago.
Okay, nice. What did you take?
I got a bachelor's in business administration with a major in marketing.
Nice. So you pretty much, if I remember the timeline right, you pretty much graduated and joined eUnited right away, right?
Not quite. I came back and played for the first 2 events in World War II, and then I joined them after the second event.
Okay. And so I don't know how much you really want to talk about eUnited. I don't know.
I mean, I'm done to talk about whatever.
Okay. So, I mean, the big question, I guess, would be: are you Team JCap? Are you Team Clayster? Like, where do you fall on that kind of argument?
I mean, Clay's like one of my best friends, so I'm kind of on his side. I mean, during like that whole situation, I was not made aware of anything when it was all happening. So I mean, I guess I got to be on Clay's side because I wasn't involved in the whole cap side of things.
Okay, that's fair. And so I mean, I guess if you weren't involved, you don't really have any more information to add at this point, or
yeah,
you just
no, I don't really have too much extra information on that. Pretty much just everything that's been said is about what happened.
Right. And so I feel like personally for me, eUnited, the team is just like one of my favorites to watch. I feel like, I'm not sure if that was something that you did, but they just played like solid Call of Duty. They made small mistakes, but they weren't very common, things like that. And the organization, it just seems like, I don't know how to say it nicely, really, but it just seems like there's some shady stuff going on behind the scenes. Is there anything that you can add to that? Do I have a little bit of a misconception here?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're more of like a grassroots organization. If you look at like an organization like Envy or something like that, they have like a whole like business team and like all these groups of management and stuff like that. I mean, EU is basically the 2 owners who invest the majority of the money, and Burns is the manager, and that's pretty much. I mean, Clerky manages like the PC side of things, but that's pretty much about it. I mean, we'll have like our graphic team and like our media team, but besides that, there's not much more to it.
Okay.
So pretty much all decisions like ride on them, and they're trying to. I feel like they make decisions because they want to be like more like on the franchise side of things and not let players control in a sense.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. Do they give control of rosters to the teams, or do they kind of micromanage it a little bit?
They micromanage it. They micromanage it a lot, I would say.
And is that something that you felt wasn't conducive to success with that team?
I mean, when people like want to leave teams and like make changes, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there was like a bunch of instances last year where like the team was falling apart, but I mean, players can't always get their way, and I completely understand that. But sometimes you need to find like a good middle ground on things and stop trying to force things to make them work.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, obviously, you've moved on from that roster at this point. However, how do you feel like that? the last couple of weeks went with that roster and the results that you guys got?
I mean, the team was looking like they were going to be really good. I mean, they just made the roster change, went 3-1 in the league, only with a loss to LG. I mean, I think the team had a high upside and a lot of potential going forward. I still think they do, and I think they're going to do really well at London. But their pool is definitely going to be an interesting one. I mean, I could definitely see them making in the losers, but I could also see them making in the winners with that pool.
Right. So you move on to MaDaC now. Did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? How did that connection get made?
They reached out to me. The players reached out to me, and then they brought it to management, and then it's really quick.
Okay. And so obviously they're players that all have like really high skill ceilings. There's absolutely no denying that, but there just seems to be something where they're not quite clicking right now. So what is the first step? Like, you've gone into the team. What is the first thing you're doing to try and help them click, to help them just get that fundamentally improvements down?
Well, I think during their week in the league, they showed a lot of promise. I mean, they had a big win over 100 Thieves, and
yeah.
I mean, we got a scrim series in yesterday, our first scrim series of the team against Reciprocity, and it was a really good scrim. I mean, we like lost like the first 2 or 3 maps, and I mean they were all like really competitive, and then we kind of just ran through and won every map after that. So I mean things were looking good. Just kind of looking at small mistakes and like small tendencies that just lead to bad habits right now. I mean we're just like going over VOD and kind of just seeing what's up. But I mean everything looked fairly good yesterday.
So we actually spoke with Parasite a couple of weeks back, and one of the hot topics then was about how even within the first like 48 hours of that team forming, they were already having like attendance issues when it comes to scrims and things like that. Do you see yourself having a big impact on that? And in fact, can you already see a big difference from like what that was to maybe they've already made some big changes?
I mean now it's like there's like basically like coaches chat now, so like all scrims are pretty much set up the day in advance. So I mean players really have no excuse to like sleep through things. Like kind of before it'd always be like players posting in chat asking if anyone needs a scrim. So I mean some people would kind of just like wake up whenever and do their own thing. But I mean when you're setting things the day in advance, it's like you need to be there on time. And I mean if people don't show up on time, I mean I'm not gonna like not bring it up to management. Like I'll tell management about it and like potentially have them hand out fines if possible.
Nice.
Right. So is the MaDaC management kind of hands on like that? Like they want to know if someone's late to scrims or something like that?
I don't really know. I haven't talked to them that much yet.
Okay.
So I'm not 100%, but I mean, I think they obviously want a team that can win. I mean, they've had 2 fairly successful rosters so far. I mean, I think this one has a high upside. So
yeah, I agree.
And yeah, I mean, London, our pool definitely isn't the hardest, I would say. So I mean, I can definitely see us going to London, making the winners, and then being like a dark horse team there.
Yeah.
So, do you think that you have more potential working with the roster that you're working with now versus what you could have possibly done with United?
Yeah, I'd kind of agree with that. I feel like EU it was pretty much the same roster for a long time, and so much things were like said and done with that team. I mean, and so many and like all those players are kind of just in like their own mindset with the team and like where they want to be and how they want to be. I think they need the win. London, I would say, or it's gonna go downhill. It's just been so long since that roster has won. I think they need a win quick, or it's not gonna be looking too good.
Right.
Yeah.
They're kind of on the hot seat a little bit.
Yeah, I think London's gonna be a very important event for that team.
Yeah,
makes sense. So, obviously, it's not all just been about the change that's happened with you and MaDaC and United. There's obviously been a lot of rumors floating around in the past few days and things like that. I don't know how on top of it you've been.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been reading whatever's posted on Reddit. I mean, I haven't really been talking to any players and kind of like getting info straight from them. Pretty much everything I see on Reddit is kind of what I've come to believe for the most part. I mean, some things definitely look a little more unbelievable than others, but I think I have a good grasp of what's actually going to happen and what won't.
Right. So, I mean, first question would be, like, what are your thoughts on the whole rumor for the phase roster?
I mean, the roster sounds pretty good in my eyes.
Yeah.
What was the rumor roster? It's like Zero, Scraps, and then like the
Zuma
attached cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that roster has like a ton of potential, but I don't think they have like a really strict leader on that team, so that could be the only downfall of that team, in my opinion. I don't really see anyone on that team being like the type of person who's going to step up and lead discussions or anything like that.
And do you even see that being a likely roster?
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening with how things have kind of been with Red and everything. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely all for getting these shady organizations, excuse me, out of Call of Duty and getting the ones, that have established funding and things that can, support the players rather than essentially screwing them over and leaving them homeless in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's
halfway across the world.
crazy. I mean, FaZe still have a lot of money tied up in Call of Duty at the moment too, so I mean,
Yeah.
they definitely make the most sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the next rumored roster would be Envy's, which I've heard is Huke, Decimate, Silly, Aches, and Pharaoh, which I think that's another very interesting roster.
Yeah, I mean, that one sounds pretty good to me. I mean, it's just gonna be a matter of like Hook and Aches. I think they've butted heads quite a bit ever since they formed that roster, but I feel like they can definitely put their differences aside as long as the team's performing well.
Right.
And I mean, with that roster, you'd probably have Aches on the ICR, and I think that's a role where he'll be more impactful in.
Yeah.
Right.
I would definitely agree with your statement that, winning definitely masks a lot of mistakes and a lot of problems that can come up in anything, really, but especially
Yeah, I mean,
with
that was kind of the thing with the whole old Optic roster. I mean,
right.
like they weren't liking each other too much, which is seen from when they ended up making the roster change, but they were winning, so they had no reason to go and make a change.
Right.
Do you see Aches winning a championship this year?
I mean, he always pulls it out somehow in some way, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. That roster on paper too sounds really good. I mean, Luke's been phenomenal all year. Silly's been really, really consistent. Decimate back when he was playing was extremely good, and I think Pharaoh's a very solid player as well. I mean, you have to see. I think a lot of rosters that are currently forming sound really, really good.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, one of the other ones that we've seen is obviously Denial bought out Joe and Vance, and I believe Rack and Alex as well, Sam.
Yeah,
I think that's what I read.
Posted. Yeah.
And I mean, it sounds a little weird to me. It's kind of like a mixed team, kind of similar to how we are. I mean, and I think we've been making it work well, so I don't think there's any reason that they can't do that. But I don't know. I don't think that's a team that's going to see instant success. Yeah. I think they'd have to work for it a little bit.
I think that's another instance of me kind of feeling bad for the people who qualified for the league.
Yeah.
Like, the French players, they put in the hard work and one of them's just gonna be the sub, but if it's within the rules then it's allowed, but I don't know, I don't necessarily agree with it.
I don't think that team's been bad either. They've been a super competitive team, like from the start. They've been a really quality pro league team. I mean, you're not gonna have 16 championship level teams, and they've been a team that's been able to compete with almost every team there. And I mean, they have no reason to not be in the pro league, I would say.
Right.
And so, if that was a roster that was gonna succeed, who would you like to see as their fifth player?
So what would it be? It'd be Rated, Brack, Joe, Alex. I mean, what? I think Alex. I mean, Alex, Bance. Wait, so that's 5.
So Joe, Bance, Brack, and Alex.
What I saw posted didn't have Rated included.
Oh, right. Yeah. I feel like Rated would have to be included in that group. I mean, I don't think Joe would go and do that without Rated. I think it'd be Rated over Bance, and then, I mean, maybe they would get Bance as a 5th, but
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think that team definitely needs more SOG presence, I would say. Unless Alex has been running a Slug lately, but I know for like most of the game, I think at the beginning he was running a MaDaC or LP.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And so, obviously, talking about switching roles and things like that, we've seen from like scrims and streams and things. We've seen obviously Optic seems like they're making some role changes again. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't know what they're going to be trying out this time, but I mean, it's not like they're necessarily changing roles. It's more of like specialist changes, which,
Right.
I mean, they can definitely help out teams. I mean, we've done it at EU as well in the past, and I don't know. I don't know if role change or specialist changes are essentially something that's gonna like get them back in the form. I don't think it makes that big of a difference.
Well, obviously, they've not exactly been playing bad.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean,
But
what they go 3-1 only with that loss to 100 Thieves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And obviously they also played a lot of the Pro League so far without Dashy as well. So do you think that by the end of the Pro League they're going to be coming back out on top and back in the form that obviously everybody's expecting?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a team that's always going to be able to compete for championships just because of the amount of skill they have on the team. I mean, I feel like Fort Worth was kind of just like a one-off for them. I mean, they didn't even necessarily play that bad. I mean, T12 isn't best placing, but I mean, they definitely didn't have the easiest road.
Right. No. I mean, they were in the supposed group of death, but really, when you're at this level, every group was a group of death.
Yeah, I mean, almost every group at that event was really. I think the London groups are super insane.
Yeah. Actually, a nice transition into the next question I had for you. So, a lot of people were kind of saying that Midnight had the easy group. What with it being?
Yeah, I mean, I'd kind of agree with that because I don't know what EXG. I mean, if there is rumors of Brack going to a different team, I don't know who they'd pick up necessarily. I think they'd probably pick up like another like top amateur player that they're friends with. So
yeah.
And I think Brack was really important to that team. So I don't know how they could possibly get a player who would improve on him. UIU, I don't really know what they're doing, but Orgonite's a free agent right now. So I have no idea what their plans are. And I mean, Heretics are just going to be Heretics. I think Heretics are a better league match team where they can put in a ton of preparation than a open event style team. I don't think they perform as well at open events.
Okay. You think that is because of the they can specifically scout out like players and spots?
Yeah, I'd definitely agree with that because I mean they have like a big coaching staff. I know they have like their head coach. And I think they have like 2 assistant coaches. It is.
Yeah, they've got
so they put in a ton of prep work toward all their league matches. I think that's why they perform really well in the league. But when you go to an open event, you're playing multiple matches a day. You can't really put in prep work versus teams. You kind of just have to go out and play.
Yeah. So one of the rumors that I saw today was of New York Excelsior and NYXL were supposedly in talks with what is going to be FaZe roster about joining the CWL. What are your thoughts on these big orgs stepping in? Could we potentially see TSM, CLG, TL step back into the space, especially with the franchising coming up?
Yeah, I mean, franchising is definitely a big sell for a lot of orgs, and I know from what everyone's been saying is the ones that are already in the Overwatch League have priority. So I think a few of them are probably going to be stepping in next year and taking slots from some of the orgs currently in the scene. Because I think it only like 3 or 4 orgs right now in COD are ones in the Overwatch League, something like that. Like you got Genji, Optic, NG.
LG has one.
Yeah, LG just got in with like the recent expansion, but besides that, I don't really know who else is in. I think it might just be Splice might be in now too with the recent expansion. I want to say.
Yeah, I don't really follow the Overwatch League too closely.
I know Splice has a ton of funding, so I think they might be tied to one of the teams.
Yeah. But
yeah, I'm just taking a look here. I don't see anything for Splice, but you might be right.
Oh no, someone just posted in chat that Splice owns the Toronto team. So
No, that's LG. That's LG 100%.
Oh, well, I don't know then, but
yeah.
Either way, do you think it's kind of realistic to have these expectations of, you know, TSM, CLG, Team Liquid to step back in, or do you think that's
No,
too
I
much to ask,
think
really?
it's definitely realistic. I mean, Call of Duty has such a big presence on like social media and stuff, and that brings a
Right.
lot to orgs. And I think with the franchise league, it'll. I mean, I don't really know what the franchise league is going to bring to Call of Duty. I think it's going to be a big change. I don't know if it's going to be for the better or the worse, but a lot of orgs definitely see it for the better. So that'll be a reason for them to step in.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that? Well, obviously we've seen it on multiple occasions this year. In fact, by the sounds of it, it's about to happen again with Denial, like we just mentioned, where we've got players who are playing their hearts out to get into the league, and then obviously shortly afterwards no longer being in the league because they're getting dropped by the organizations. So obviously franchising would kind of help with that. So like, as a coach, how do you think that's going to affect you?
I mean, I think it's definitely gonna be a bit cutthroat for some of the positions. I mean, it kind of already is right now, I would say. Not so much for the coaching side of things. I think pretty much all the coaches right now, I think you'll see the majority of them franchise league next year, but I think but it's definitely a little weird for the players because I realistically think there could be 20 teams in the pro league right now. So there's always going to be around like 20 players or so outside the pro league that definitely have the skill to be in there, and it puts a lot of people in weird spots.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues that people are seeing as well is the whole thought of, you know, those amateur teams trying to get into the pro league, and if we go down the franchising route, how that's going to work out and things like that. Can you actually see that being an issue?
I feel like it would be easier for new players to break in because when things are franchised, it's like orgs kind of look at the development side of things, like the development leagues and stuff like that.
Right.
A lot of players play through those and get their shot like in the pro league. I mean, with how it is now, players have a lot of control over the roster. So like if it's a player that's like upcoming, it's like all the players on the team are gonna have to like push for it. It's not gonna be like some random like top AMP player just getting on a pro team right now unless they're like friends with them or something.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure we'll see more kind of paths for these amateur players to kind of go down in order to be able to make it into the pro league and things anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, you've been seeing a lot more people get chances in like the recent years, but I mean, it's only like the really like high profile players just turning 18, and you don't really see too much about lesser known people.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you see there being sort of a B league where there's, you know, kind of a feeder system into the like each team has their A team and then their B team, and you can pull players from the B team up onto your roster if time's right?
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely gonna be something like that. I mean, I don't know exactly how many players would even be on like the pro team rosters, because I feel like the pro team rosters would definitely have more than 5 players. I feel like they would probably have like 7 or something like that. It seems like a good number with how like franchising works in Overwatch. I don't really know how many players they have on their roster. Take a look at that right now.
I believe it's like 10 or 12. You're right. There is a lot more than necessarily plays at one time.
At some of these teams, and they have like 8 players on their roster and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe Call of Duty will be like that, where you just have people like riding on the bench and then like subbing in for alternate matches and stuff. I don't really know how that would work though.
So which do you think would be better though, like that kind of route, or similar to League of Legends where you have an academy team and you can also sub in players from that?
I definitely like the League of Legends approach a lot more, because I feel like subbing out players like in and out of matches, it's like you don't really get good practice with like your set team that way. I think it's better to have like a core 5 that you're practicing with every day rather than just constantly swapping in and out, in and out, in and out.
Makes sense. Now, I think the only thing, obviously, with the League of Legends thing is if we have academy teams, do you think we should have like strict rule sets as well, as far as like who can be in the academy team. Like if, for example, somebody like Zuma doesn't make it into the Pro League, would we allow him to be on an academy team because he's still an established player, or are we looking to just pull in younger players who we are wanting to develop and turn into obviously those high-profile players?
I mean, a player like that would definitely have to be allowed on one of those teams. I mean, if you I think as long as you have the skill level, you should be on one of those teams.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have to do anything with name or prestige or anything like that. As long as you're good enough, you deserve to be there. That's how I see it.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with that. So just to switch gears a little bit, I did notice on Twitter the other day that I believe it was Parasite was tweeted out that you guys needed a sub for London.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you said publicly which player is going to be not available?
Yeah, it's Nato. I mean,
Okay.
as everyone expected.
Yeah, that's kind of the assumption that people made, but I wasn't sure if it was kind of official or not.
I mean, I think it's. I mean, he tweeted out we need a sub, so it's pretty official. I don't think they just made like a formal announcement or anything like that.
Yeah.
And have you guys been scrimming with an extra fifth? Or?
Yeah. I mean, our scrim yesterday was with the player we're gonna be going with. I mean, I don't know if I should necessarily say it right now, but it'll probably be announced in like a day or so. I think it's all set, ready to go.
And how's that player kind of thing into the team?
I mean, it looked really good. Like I was saying, we were playing rec yesterday, and the scrim was really, really good for us. I mean, all the controls were really dominant in our favor, and I think we started getting things going toward like the last few hard points. I mean,
do you have a map count for us?
Yeah, it was 6-3 in our favor.
Okay.
Nice. On a neutral host.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, everything was looking really good. I mean, Blast was playing super, super well, so I'm excited to keep working with him. I mean, everyone was playing well. No one was really underperforming, I would say.
Right. Nice. Yeah, I think you guys have a really exciting roster, and I think it's a roster.
It's definitely like a dark horse team, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think once you get those players intact and you know, getting them to really take things seriously, as we mentioned before, obviously they weren't doing at the beginning, but if you can turn that around and get them all on the same playing field and you know, all in the same mindset, then I think you guys have an awesome team. And I think especially with having you on the squad as well now, it's only going to be getting better, right?
Yeah, I'm super excited for London with this team. I mean, I think if we start hot in pools and just kind of run through that pool, we'll have a lot of momentum going to the bracket. I mean, going into the bracket though definitely won't be easy because I mean, I feel like with any of the other pools, like the first or second place team is going to be really high caliber championship style team. So
yeah,
it's gonna be an interesting event. I feel like there's so many teams that can win it.
Do you know who it is that you play first?
I think it would be. I think Pool A matches up with Pool D. I think that's how it is. I think it's like one from A matches up from. I don't know. You can probably find that info because I'm pretty sure it's consistent over every event.
Well, Fort Worth was A plays C, B plays D. So I'm
okay.
If it's the same.
Yeah, it would be the same way.
Okay.
So how do you? So well, actually, so you've already obviously mentioned how you feel about your own group. Actually, do you know who you play first in the group stage?
I don't think the schedule's been released yet.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, because I think they're probably waiting to see what the full rosters end up being because they base the schedule off how many like people are gonna watch X match, something like that. Right. So I got to see the new rosters and then judge the main stage matches based off that and everything.
Okay,
makes sense.
Is there a
is
there a specific kind of routine you have to play against specific teams, or is it just you're preparing the same way no matter what team you're going to play?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think there's too much variance from team to team. I think the players have a pretty good grasp of every player on every team just because of like how much they play with them in 10 and stuff. So you don't really look at one team more than another. I mean, I guess if you're playing Optic, you kind of have to factor in the crowd being louder and stuff, but
yeah,
I don't think it impacts too many players. I mean, obviously it affects some players, but I think most people are able to block all that out.
Right. And so, you know, being a coach and especially a coach on a new team, how is your day-to-day life looking right now? Like, how many hours are you putting into studying other teams, and how many hours are you putting into, you know, spending time with your own team?
Well, I mean, we only played one scrim so far, and right now most pro teams aren't playing because of the vast majority of them are finalizing their rosters. I think even the ones
Right.
that haven't been making changes just started playing again like yesterday. A few teams were playing today, and I think come next week, teams will be playing much more. So, I mean, right now, everyone's kind of on the back burner a bit, but like once teams start playing and like we start grinding more, then we'll be able to put more time into reviewing film and talking about the other teams, like once we get to play them.
Do you see there being any difference in your day to day now on Midnight and as there was on United, or do you think it's just going to be the same?
I think it'll be fairly similar. I think I'll
Okay.
have to put a bit more work into this team in the beginning. Just because it's a new team and it's not something I'm familiar with. Because with EU, I was there for a year at that point,
Yeah.
and at the beginning it was definitely an adjustment period. So I think the first month will definitely be a bit extra, and then it'll kind of mellow down after that. I mean, with the exception of like when it gets to playoffs and champs time, then every team will be super crunch mode, trying to find out new stuff to bring out at those events. But right now, the meta's been pretty consistent over the past few months,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's any like drastic changes going on with things right now to
Yeah.
necessarily be looking for.
Although I did see something about a patch. He either came out today or tomorrow in the next couple of days or something about the KN 95, 94, whatever it is.
I think it happened already because I saw people on Reddit talking about using the gun, and
Yeah.
people still say it's like not as good as the ICR and the Max. It kind of is
Okay.
like a middle
Right.
ground between the two, but I think both of them outclass it at what they do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Just before we went live, I was watching Crim's stream, and him and Aches were both using it in tens, and they kind of both agreed exactly what you said. It's good
Yeah,
in
it's good,
between.
but it's just not good enough.
Yeah, exactly. It's not quite good enough. So yeah, I do think we're going to kind of stick with a similar meta, but that does kind of bring me on to my next question about what would you say to someone who kind of thinks that Call of Duty players are stubborn and unwilling to change? Because we go back to the GA stuff, and what is your opinion on all that?
I mean, Call of Duty's had like so many bad games with like lackluster dev support over the years, and I mean, players want to have a game that they find to be competitive and that they enjoy playing. Like people don't want to play a game that they just dread playing every day. I mean, kind of how it was last year. People really did not like playing the game. The majority of players, and like
Yeah.
people finally have a game that they enjoy playing with this one right now, and people want to keep having fun with it. And they don't want to get cheesier stuff added to the game and et cetera. I would say. I mean, I don't know. I agree with the vast majority of the GAs. I don't think any of them are really too out of line right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the hot topic was the Rampart, but I guess they nerfed that a little
Yeah,
bit, and it's kind
they
of gone
they
back
nerfed
into
it,
irrelevance.
and I think
Yeah.
even at that time with them nerfing it, LG was agreeing to not use it
Yeah.
anyway. So I don't think it made too much of a difference.
Okay. I mean,
So go ahead,
I
son.
was just gonna say, I agree with you. I feel like things like the sensor dart and
Yeah,
like
I
the
don't I
ammo
don't think
crate
I
thing,
don't
like
think anything like that belongs. I mean, the assault pack, I didn't think it was that big of an issue at first until it was that time when the gunship was a score streak that people were playing with,
yeah,
and when people were running the assault pack, the amount of streaks I've seen dropped in every scrim during that time period was absolutely unreal. I saw a gunship almost every other map.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I have a good question for you because I've heard you already mention it a couple of times. Reddit. How is your relationship with Reddit?
I mean, I'll check up on it every day and stuff, and just see like if there's any news. But I mean, I don't really post there that much anymore like I used to. I think like back in Ghost and AW and stuff like that, I was posting there all the time because I think there was like a lot of
Okay.
good discussion and everything at the time. I think it's kind of went downhill since then. I feel like it's more of like a TMZ style thing now, where people are just super invested in drama and intel and everything like that. While back in the day, it was a lot more um, just about competitive Call of
Constructive.
Duty, I would say.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you still check it frequently?
Yeah.
Or?
I mean, I check it every day just to see if there's any like important posts there that I should be keeping up with. I mean, I feel like it's kind of part of my job, but it's really about it.
I do
I'm just on
remember.
Reddit a lot in general. There's a lot of subreddits I look at.
Right.
I do remember a time where it was like you, Clay, and Jacob would post, almost daily, and then like no other pros, and then everyone kind of just went to just hating it, and I feel like a lot of the people in the scene kind of feel like it's sort of like cesspool of hatred and stupidity.
Yeah, I think it's definitely become something like that over the years. But I mean, back in the day, I think it was pretty awesome. There was a lot of good discussions on there. I know those three you said posted a lot. I think Aches posted quite a bit back in the day too, as well as a few other players I remember seeing posts back then.
Definitely.
Have you ever been caught in the wrath of Reddit?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been downvoted a shit ton sometimes, but I don't think I've ever really had direct hate sent my way.
Right.
In a sense, like where you'll see posts just bashing players and stuff like that. I don't think I've ever had anything like that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So your relationship overall is not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really mind the place that much.
Fair enough.
So I just want to touch on something that someone just posted in chat. Purify, I believe is how you say it. He said he feels that the cluster needs to be GA, and he wants to know your opinion on both the cluster and Fog of War.
Well, yeah, I don't think Fog of War should be in competitive, let alone Call of Duty in general. I think it's kind of like a bailout for pub players, and I think the fact that that's in competitive is just ridiculous in itself. They kind of want to keep it similar to pubs, and that's something they won't budge on. I don't think the cluster needs to be GA. I think the cluster is definitely really good, but I think GAing that would be a little bit much. I don't really have too much of an issue with it.
You can heal through it, so
yeah,
I agree with you on that.
There's trophy systems, there's flak jacket. I don't think it's too out of line.
Yeah. I think like you just mentioned, the biggest thing is the Fog of War for sure. Obviously, we heard a lot about that when the game first came out. However, it's kind of died down now. Do you think that's because of the fact that they've come out and said like, "Hey guys, this is not going to be taken out of the game"?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's just come to terms that it's just stuck in here and not going to be changed. I don't think they would change it this late in the game anyway, even though a bunch of players just always talk about how it's so stupid and it just shouldn't be here in the first place. But I don't think it's going to change.
I think to Treyarch's credit though, I think they're always trying to innovate. Like if you look at their games, Black Ops 2 had the pick 10, Black Ops 3 had the pick and ban, and now this has Fog of War. I think they're always trying to add things. Like it doesn't always work out, but I think they're always trying something new. So to their credit, at least they're trying.
Yeah, so I mean, the last episode we had Kenny on here, and he was talking a little bit about this as well. And he was saying basically like how he feels like the idea of it is a good thing, if it worked the way that it was actually intended to work. So, aka you couldn't see behind you.
Yeah, but
on
you
the
can
map,
only see people.
You couldn't see
yeah,
through.
I mean, I don't think it would
Exactly.
be necessarily an issue if that was the case, but you'll end up seeing people through walls and stuff, and
yeah, and that's what the issue is, right?
That's the main issue. But I mean, back on the innovation topic, I mean, I definitely agree with you in a sense. I think they had a lot of good ideas for this game, but I think they tried doing too much, and then once the game came out, I don't think they put enough effort into changing things, and they just focused on pushing out new weapon skins and DLCs and stuff like that, and they haven't really focused on improving the game or anything like that.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that. I agree with you. So I want to grab one more question that I tweeted us the other day. My tweet deck would start working. That'd be great.
I've got yeah.
Oh, go ahead if you already have the tweet that I'm referring to.
I do. I was just saving that for afterwards. Okay. Before we jump into questions from like chat and Reddit and Twitter, I did want to just run through a little bit more in depth on your predictions for CWL London. Do you know what the polls are?
Yeah, I actually have it up on a tab in my other monitor over here.
Perfect. So Pool A, obviously we got 100 Thieves, Optic Gaming, Enigma 6, and Team Reciprocity. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I want to say 100 T and Optic. I really can't see either of them going to losers. At the same time, I think Rec are gonna have a really good event because they're basically gonna be like the hometown favorites at event. I think they're gonna put a ton of effort in. So I think Rec are gonna make it on the winners of that pool, and I mean, I wouldn't really be surprised if Optic is the team that won the losers, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it was 100T because they struggled in pools at last event as well, and just had a crazy losers run. So I don't know. I think Rec will make it out, and I think the other spot's a toss up between those two.
Do you think it would be a good assumption that it depends on which one of those guys? I mean, obviously, the 100 Thieves Optic game in itself is going to be a huge game, but depending on who plays Enigma 6 first, obviously, probably the easier game.
I could definitely see E6 upsetting one of those teams and then making it weird, but I don't know. I feel like it's going to be one of the situations where it's a three-way tie between those teams and it comes on the map count or something like that. I mean, 100T have not had the best history when it comes down to winning map counts and making the winners, so.
Right. Okay. And so moving on to Pool B, we got Genji, Splice, Luminosity, and Denial. Obviously, the roster change is possible for Denial, so we don't know what's going on with that. But
I mean, still, regardless of a change, I still think you have to look towards LG, Splice, and Genji in that pool.
Yeah.
No matter what happens. I mean, that's also like a toss-up with those three teams. I think Genji have shown a lot of consistency, so I definitely think they'll make it on the winners because I can't really see them losing more than one time. They're just not a team that does that. Splice and LG don't tend to perform as good as they do in pools compared to bracket, so once again, it's a toss-up. I don't know how LG are going to be without the Rampart anymore, so I think I'm going to give the nod to Splice, although it can honestly go either way.
Well, I mean, we were obviously looking through Fort Worth and the bracket and pool play that went on there, and obviously Splice and Luminosity went up against each other a few times throughout that tournament, and it just so happened that they obviously were in the same group together then as well, right? So in the group stage then, Splice actually came out on top. Unfortunately for them, that was the only time they came out on top, and obviously Luminosity
the times in bracket. So I could definitely see Splice going that route again. And then, I mean, if LG start in losers, I don't think they're going to do too well. I think they're definitely a winners bracket team.
Yeah. And Denial just...
I mean, I think Denial will be super competitive in all their matches, like, assuming they make, like, that roster change and stuff. I mean, even regardless, I think the old Denial roster always kept matches entertaining. I don't think they ever really got blown out or anything like that. But I think they might sneak one series from a team, and kind of that'll be like what disrupts the team from making it.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening.
Fair enough.
And as to your point, they actually took Optic to a game 11 in the last week of the...
I thought they were gonna win that too. I mean, they had a crazy comeback in that game 5, and then I mean they had a lot to work with the last round. But I think Optic had vision pulls. And then when they popped the vision pulls, Denial kind of panicked and just didn't all back up. And they let Optic get some openings off that. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we can't really discuss that too much, especially with roster rumors going around.
With the whole roster thing. Yeah, no, for sure. And, I mean, so actually, this is backpedaling a little bit now, but you were talking about, obviously, keeping things close. And one of the things that we also saw at Fort Worth was... team reciprocity basically
they were just
went to game 5 every single
that's why I'm not like 100% sold on them yet. I think that was kind of like a one-off event. I mean, you're not gonna always get away just winning game 5. I mean, even our series versus them was the only one we won that event, and that went to game 5.
Right. Okay. And so then moving on to Pool C, we got E United, Red Reserve, Team Envy, and Evil Geniuses.
This is the question mark pool. I mean, no one has any idea what's gonna go on because I mean, EU's the only team that I really see keeping their same roster, and I mean, I'm pretty sure the other three are gonna be completely overhauling their rosters. So I mean, honestly, I feel like FaZe, assuming that's what happens, and then Envy, I think both of them will probably be in like crazy honeymoon periods, and I could definitely. I don't know. I have a feeling EU is going to get into losers in that pool because even then they've never matched up well against Envy. I don't know. That pool is just going to be crazy. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, there's just like a
Yeah.
big question mark over that pool.
Yeah,
though,
I
isn't it?
mean, even with EG, I mean, I feel like that's a roster that Cap might end up on, with like some of the changes. So I
Mhm.
mean, he's gonna be coming out with a vengeance. That's the pool I'm looking at the most in London. That's the one I'm gonna be the
Yeah.
most interested in.
Can you imagine like
Yeah.
a JCap placed a 1v1 round 11? Like that'd be nuts.
Oh man, it would be awesome. I would
Yeah.
I would actually love to see that.
Absolutely.
For sure. And so obviously, if that did happen, do you see Attach staying on that roster no matter what?
I mean, I think he was
Well,
involved.
depending
Yeah,
on
I
the
mean, I'm
phase
pretty
thing.
sure he was involved in the rumors going to phase because I think that was like something that happened like last minute with him going
Yeah.
to phase or whatever. So I don't know what would happen with EG at that point. I don't know what their overhaul would be looking like. So I mean, I'm curious to see what happens. I mean, maybe they'll end up picking up like Assault and App because I don't really know where else they would go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That,
can't really.
Because
Those are two players like I can't really see being outside the league as well.
yeah, no, absolutely. Because I just think if Attach didn't go to phase, and JCap didn't somehow make it onto that roster, obviously JCap and Attach have won
Yeah,
championships
I
before,
think they
right?
definitely would
So
have played well together. I know they're like really good friends and they've been talking a lot
yeah,
recently.
right. And so in general, how do you see EG doing this event? Obviously, they've been very lackluster throughout the whole year.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it depends like what they end up doing with that roster. So I really can't make a prediction once until all these teams finalize their rosters and start scrimming.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, it's one of the, like we said, it's a big question mark
Yeah,
over the whole
that's the
pool at
pool
this
that I
point.
have not a single clue what's gonna happen.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we already basically went over
Yeah.
your pool. Who do you think is going to come bottom?
Bottom. I don't know if Accelerate lose Brack, I could definitely see it being them, but I don't think UIU has looked the best recently, and I know they're making at least one roster change, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who do you see them picking up?
I don't know, like what SOG are they gonna get? I mean, I don't really know what SOG players are on the market right now. Maybe they'd go for like God or X or something like that. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I can't really
Fair
think of
enough.
too many SOG players that are looking for a team that are on the upper echelon of things.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Maybe if like Apathy doesn't find his way on EG, maybe he ends up going there or something. I truly don't know.
Yeah. And so, actually, obviously, we spoke a little bit before about obviously all the rumors that have been going on and things like that. One of the interesting ones again was that whole well, both phase and denial possibilities. So, what are your thoughts on a lot of these EU players who are starting to actually make their way into mixed rosters with NA players as well?
Yeah, I mean it's not too uncommon for like British players and like Irish players to do it. I mean, there's been instances even from AW where
Yeah.
you've had some international teams. I think it's weird with the current denial guys because I don't think too many of them, if any of them, really speak fluent English. I think they mostly just speak French,
Yeah.
and I don't think they really network themselves around the scene that much to get on other rosters. So I don't know what would happen with any of them, but I think we'll definitely be seeing more British and American players teaming together, especially next year with franchising.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and I can actually pretty much confirm exactly what you just said because, again, we reached out to a few of the denial players at one point, and pretty much the common response was, "Sorry, bro, I don't speak English."
Yeah,
So,
I don't really ever see them with too many with anyone really besides themselves, and every time I've heard
yeah.
them talk, it's been in French. I really haven't heard any of them speak too much English.
Do you think that could be something that affects the performance throughout the league?
Not necessarily. I mean, yeah, it makes things weird because it's definitely harder for them to get scrims, and they can't really get in tens if they're not speaking English. So
Yeah.
it definitely limits the amount of practice they can get, I would say.
Oh.
Kind of the same situation with Heretics. Although they
Yeah.
their coach and stuff speaks English, so I mean,
Yeah, makes me think about when CS players come over to the US for like
Yeah,
US
for like
events.
the weird mixed teams and stuff.
And then well, even when they're playing in like FPL and they're mixing NA and EU players, and they always find it hard to communicate. You know, even down to some of them having different names for different places on
Yeah,
maps.
yeah,
So,
a lot of callouts vary in CS, but I mean, with CS though, I think every player, almost every international player, has kind of been forced to learn English because English is so prevalent in the CS scene. So I think almost like every international player at this point has either learned English or has been picking it up, just because it helps their career so much.
Again, do you think that's something that we might see Call of Duty players doing a little bit more now that franchising's
Yeah, not even so much with it being franchising. I think Call of Duty's getting to the point where international teams are keeping up. I mean, in CS, it was always pretty much international dominant. There was just teams from all over. I mean,
Yeah.
Call of Duty's always just been US based and UK based.
yeah.
But I mean, I think it's starting to branch out more and more. I mean, we have the Japanese teams that have been playing, Spanish teams, French teams. I mean, I think Call of Duty's definitely been growing, and maybe in a few years, if Call of Duty keeps going strong, we'll be seeing teams from more and more countries.
I do.
For sure.
Cool.
I think it was the Black Ops 2 champs. There was a South African or an African team, and
Yeah, I know Ghost was the same way, where they had teams from like Korea and stuff like that too.
they were pulling out riot shields on hardpoint, and
Yeah, I mean, you can't really expect too much
yeah, it was
until the scene develops in each region.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really call it a world league if it's just the US and UK though. So
Yeah, I mean, Australia
Yeah.
still has their
Australia, of
prevalence
course.
in Call of Duty, but I mean, with Mindfreak not making the league, it's kind of like they faded into obscurity this year, which kind of sucks because I think those
Yeah.
players are really talented, and they honestly should have made the league. They kind of just choked.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, I think Sam, did you have any other questions about CWL London?
No, not really. Just
So yeah, moving on to the Q&A portion part. Like I mentioned before, we do have questions here from Reddit, Twitter. There's been a couple so far in the chat as well, which I wrote down. So I guess actually we'll start off with one of the ones that was posted earlier on in the chat. That I did notice, which was from one of my loyal viewers, Rumours. He was asking, and he's asked this before, I do like the question. So, why do COD players use the headset mic for streams and videos instead of a studio mic?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like not too many people are like focused on being content creators and stuff, so no one's really bothered to invest in a studio mic. I think that's kind of just secondary to everyone. They don't really care too much about upgrading, although all of them have the funds too. I mean, maybe in the future, like when more people start going the streaming route, you'll see more people invest in studio mics, but I don't know. I think most players just don't care too much right now.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously we've heard Hex over many years and how he feels about content creation and how all it's going to do is not only help the individuals grow their own brand, but ultimately help the community itself grow larger and larger as well, right? So do you think that that is something that more players should be looking into, especially now that we see, obviously, Optic have been doing it for a couple of years. We've got 100 Thieves starting to really clamp down on getting their players to vlog and things like that as well. Should we see more orgs doing that kind of thing?
I mean, yeah, I agree. I think it's good for the players in the long term of things, but I think come franchising though, I mean, it's kind of the way Call of Duty's been recently, but I think more players will just be focused on competing and performing rather than streaming because I mean, people's jobs are going to be a lot more on the line come franchising, so So I think most people are going to be focused just on playing.
That makes sense. So,
I'm back. Sorry, my Discord just crashed for a second there.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so like you see content creation kind of fading away a little bit more than even what it is right now. When franchising becomes a thing.
Oh yeah. Come franchising, I don't think you're going to be seeing players stream as much anymore. I think I mean, you already see it in CS where not too many pro players stream anymore. I mean, it's kind of like a rare occurrence for a lot of pro players streaming in CS, and I kind of feel like this is how it's going to be in Call of Duty. I don't really know how it works in the Overwatch League, but I don't know if they're like able to play like or like allowed to play like 10 and stuff like that. So if that's the case, I don't really know what's going to happen with Call of Duty in terms of content creation next year.
Fair.
I think
Okay.
to be able to see like consistent success, players need to kind of break the mold a little bit, like kind of do similar to what Optic does and stream their scrims, because players like, I don't know, take JCap for example, doesn't stream the entire time he's on E United, or at least very sporadically. Gets dropped, starts to stream. Now he's supposedly getting back on a roster, so he's going to stop streaming again. So there's really no time to build up a viewer base in that short space of time. But that actually brings me on to a question that I meant to mention earlier. What are your opinions on the streaming scrims, and do you think that's something that's going to fade away?
Yeah,
franchising as I try and fix my webcam.
I think it will 100% not be a thing next year, and I've never agreed with it too much, even when we did it. I mean, I feel like scrims have always been much more productive off stream rather than on stream, and I don't think players will even be allowed to stream scrims next year.
Oh, okay.
Right. So you don't think that they're gonna be allowed to, obviously, from
a franchising, from like a league perspective, because I don't know, like, I mean, if you look at like any other legitimate esport, no one streams scrims.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the only way like Call of Duty pros kind of get their content in, so that's why they do it. But I mean, with how much salaries have been going up over the years, I don't think too many people are going to be in the content creation side of things. Fortunately, it's like you want to be a pro player and you want to be like a content creator. It's like you're kind of just,
it's difficult to manage.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to balance two things. It's like you need to put all your marbles in the one basket.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen obviously people like Scumpy, for example, get a lot of flack over the years. This guy is a guy who used to upload daily, no matter what, right? So, when he's going away for a week or 2 weeks at a time and still uploading daily, we know for a fact that he's not putting in the same amount of practice that as somebody who's not uploading daily right? Because he's putting however many hours into recording and editing and then uploading and
I mean, a lot of fans just like have like a sense of entitlement, because that's kind of like the way Call of Duty has come up. It was really based on like the content side of things, with whether it had been like sniping, competitive YouTube, etc., etc., etc. So like most people in the scene grew up with that being around, and people just can't see it going away. They feel like they feel like they deserve it in a sense, which is, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. And so with the franchising, do you see us getting a lot more like team houses and things like that? Obviously, again, we see that a lot in League of Legends, Overwatch League, things.
Yeah, I definitely expect team houses, and I think I don't know how it's, I mean, I feel like almost every team's going to be living in the US, or they're going to have to be.
Yeah.
Based off how the league works.
For sure.
There's something that I just want to jump in on that really quick. Something I actually saw Jason Lake, the owner of Complexity, mention. He feels like currently we're in eSports 3.0, where 1.0 was, players playing from their parents' basement. 2.0 being the team houses, and 3.0 being now we have these massive sports and, investment companies. They're paying for huge facilities. There's going to be workout areas. There's nutritionists. There's cooks. So I wonder if franchising, that's where we're going to get. So similar to what Optic has with the Hex quarters, if there's going to be, a space where you live, there's a space where you work, and they're two separate places. Because I feel like that really is helpful for the mentality that players need.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot more than team houses, because I mean, when you're living in a house and like your teammates are your roommates, I mean, you're gonna get in fights over stupid shit. Yeah. I think it's good for people being able to live on their own and kind of practice and scrim from a whole centralized area. I kind of like what they're doing now, much more than team houses. Although I don't think team houses are the worst.
No, like I said, I think you see it still in League of Legends.
Yeah, I mean, teams.
They still have
team houses can end up helping a lot of teams just because of like the bonds the players build, being with each other all day, every day. But it could also ruin teams at the same time. So.
Well, and the thing is, if these organizations are investing the money into practice centers and fitness centers and this, that, and the other, there's no reason why the players can't build bonds through.
Yeah. I mean, players are going to be hanging out all the time,
anyway,
and if
right?
they don't, that's just on them. And I mean, their relationships aren't the best if that's the case.
Yeah, and that again, that's what we're going to see. Obviously, teams grow or fall, right? So
yeah.
Just one more thing on this topic before we move on. I believe the way it works, at least specifically with the Houston Outlaws, they all live in like an apartment complex, each having their own apartment, and they go to the Blizzard office to scrim, and then they'll do like VOD review at like whoever's apartment that night. So they're living close together. They can do the bonding, but it's not where you deal with your teammates leaving their dirty dishes everywhere. And
yeah, I definitely like that the most, and I hope Call of Duty ends up becoming like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we actually saw this happen years ago. The whole concept of what they did with the Optic and the Red Bull offices, right?
Yeah.
Going into that central location.
Yeah, quite a few teams have practiced at the Red Bull offices in the past. I know.
At this point,
Optic's done it before. I think 100T's been doing it recently. Yeah. Even back in the day in AW, the old Vitality team came over here and practiced there for a bit, and they were untouchable online when they were there. It was real hard playing them.
If I remember rightly, Optic was like bottom of the league when they went, and then was top of the league when they left the Red Bull headquarters. So
yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be add even more to the host battles that is Call of Duty.
Yeah, there won't be as much of that next year though, because I feel like most teams are probably gonna be living in like a centralized area near each other, especially if like the league is centralized in one location.
Okay.
I feel like most players are gonna be like living kind of near that location instead of just traveling back and forth.
Again, very similar to League of Legends, right?
Yeah, where like pretty much every team is Cali based.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So moving on a little bit. So we already asked you a little bit about obviously whether you're Team Jacob or Team Clay. So one of the questions we got on Reddit was who is the better player and who's the better teammate?
I mean, judging, I mean, over time, like both of them, but I mean, both of them have definitely been better players than each other, and like time and time, like as like time has passed. I think currently, Clay has shown a bit more individual skill, but I'd probably say Cap is better teammate in a sense. But that's not saying Clay's a bad teammate. I think Clay's been doing a really good job lately of controlling his emotions and then just not escalating things in a sense.
Right. Makes sense. And so you mentioned before, obviously, if you did pick a side though, it's Team Clay.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really go against him. He's one of my best friends. I mean, I'd feel like an asshole if I went against him. And during even the whole thing, I was left in the dark about it, so I can't really see myself putting myself on the side when they left me out of the whole situation. Probably assuming I would be on Clay's side if they brought it up to me, but I mean, I think I can form my own opinion on things, so I'm a little upset they didn't come to me about it as well when everything was happening.
So next question we got is Ollie Heath, who asked best strategy you've come up with. What is the best strategy you've come up with, I guess?
I mean, Call of Duty is like a really dynamic game. I don't think there's really too many set strats or anything like that.
Yep.
I mean, I've definitely called plays to blind counter teams off the starts of. I mean, in this game, I've done it in Control, I've done it in S&D, and almost every time I've done like a blind counter call for round one, I think it's always worked for the most part. I think there maybe has been like one time where it hasn't. So I mean, that's probably what I pride myself on in terms of strategy per se. I mean, maybe next year, depending on like how the Call of Duty game plays out, there will be more set strategies. But right now, there's not too many set strategies, especially for S&D in this game. It's a lot of just team stacking and playing retakes in this game. You can't really get too creative with things.
Yeah. So actually, I have a question leading off of that. How do you feel about S&D in this game? Obviously,
I'm not a fan.
That's been the general consensus is basically 4-man stack one place and you probably win the rounds.
It has a lot to
right?
do with the health system and the stims and everything like that. It makes it so it's like you're not really gonna get an opening pick by yourself unless it's with a sniper. So you can't really have players just playing set positions around the map like you see in CS. It's like you have to play together because if you're not team shotting someone, they're just gonna heal up real quick and it's relevant.
Right. And kind of going off of that, one of the rumors that I saw earlier on in the week was that Optic was really unhappy with TP and that he was kind of on the hot seat because they didn't like his S&D strats. So it's kind of interesting you saying you don't feel like there's too many set strats, whereas maybe they have a different opinion, or is that something that you feel is not factually correct with the rumors?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think S&D strats should definitely be like too strict in this game. I think EU really excelled in S&D just because we played tight together and we never really had set strats per se. It was kind of just like we'd have like our defaults that we kind of did on like offense and defenses. But I mean, S&D in this game isn't too complex, and you should really just be playing together and finding where you're comfortable going every round, and then kind of just play off that.
Makes sense. So next question, King Zillion, he asked, "Are you still friends with the guys on EU United?"
Yeah, I mean, I was playing Counter-Strike with Clay and Pristini last night. I'm still good friends with all of
them. Next question is Guigo09. What would be your dream team?
I mean, in this game right now, I'd probably say like Gunless, Dashy, Hook. I mean, you can pretty much throw like any second SOG, like a BZ, Temp. I think a BZ and Temp would probably be the two front runners for me. I think Simp could also be there. Then like for main ICR, I mean, there's a few players that could fit the role. I think RCDs would be really good at it. I think you would take control of the team and be a really good leader. So I'd probably put him as like the main ICR. If not him though, I'd probably put Rim or something like that.
Sounds like something you've put a lot of thought into, because that was a very quick answer.
Yeah, I've just seen the discussion so many times over like the past. I mean, I feel like it pops up on Reddit like every other week, like what would be like the God Squad right now. So
yeah.
I think it's pretty set on this game, like what players have been performing the best.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And so the next question, I really like this one actually, is from Protruded Whale. In your opinion, what makes a good coach, and what are some things that coaches do that maybe are overlooked?
I mean, right now in Call of Duty, everyone's kind of learning as they go, because I mean, you don't really have people who've been coaching too long. Everyone's kind of just been going for a year or less at this point. So I mean, I think the coach needs to be respected by their players, and that's one thing I did have on EU. All the players like respected my opinion when I talked about things. So I mean, I think respect is the most important thing. You need the team respecting you, and if they don't respect you, it's kind of just pointless of you being there with the coach. And I think you need to be on a good relationship with them, because if they start resenting you for being like too strict with them and stuff like that, they're gonna start ignoring your opinion. And I don't really know what else I have to say about that. I think you just need to put in the work and take your time with the team.
That's fair.
Fair enough. Okay, and so Kyle Clashes asked, what is something we as viewers, fans, say about coaches that is completely wrong?
Oh man, I mean, I feel like some fans just put like a lot of things on the coach, but I think right now with Call of Duty, there's not like too much like set like really hard strategy. So like a lot of people will put like S&D on coaches, but I don't really think that's the case sometimes. I think it comes down to the players a lot, just like over challenging things and stuff, because there's not really too many set strategies that coaches can implement at the current state in time.
Yeah,
I feel like coaches it's such an easy cop out just to say, oh,
yeah,
because of the coach.
I mean, every team has such skilled players right now. It's like you look at Optic, it's like, oh, they have like some of the best players all the time. Like, why aren't they winning? It has to be the coach and stuff like that. When that's just not the case. I think the skill ceiling of all the teams right now is super high, and just everything hinges on like really small things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the danger of, you know, when we hear a lot of good things about coaches and how they're making such a big difference and they really are having a good impact on the team. Then when one little bad thing happens,
and then like people will just toss the blame on them unless there's like a clear scapegoat on the team, and then they'll just toss the blame on them, which is also
like,
kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Play can jump off the map and it's your fault, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, comes with the job,
yeah,
though,
I mean,
right?
coaches can only put in so much prep work in Call of Duty, and you're not really on stage with the team to hear their comms, and like I think that's kind of stupid. I feel like I should be like, I don't think I should be able to talk during maps, but I should be able to be on stage hearing their comms just to know how things are going.
Yeah.
Because so much in this game, especially, just rise on the team's comms and how they're talking. So when teams lose a map, you can't really pinpoint exactly what happened, especially like right after a match, because you're kind of just watching it to see like what's going on. You're not paying strict attention to like every little mistake that happened as the match is going on, because I mean it's stressful. Like you want to see your team win, and you're getting like anxiety stuff. You're not going to be looking for every little mistake as it's happening. I feel like that comes more after reviewing the match at a later time.
Yeah, and you know, obviously you guys as coaches put in a lot of time and effort also reviewing and keeping track of like what other teams are doing and on certain maps and things like that. So even if it was a case of you know, you get a 5-minute period before each map where you could go on and be like, okay guys, remember this is what's going to happen on this map.
It's like hard for that to like stick in their heads in that time, like if you're just like quickly like going over it at that point.
Right.
What would be your kind of ideal setup in terms of coaches?
Yeah.
Like being on stage, being able to hear comms, not talking during the map. I think during like S&D and stuff, I feel like there should be like a timeout feature, kind of like CS, but I don't think it's really going to get like that. I mean, Hardpoint's way too fast paced to even have like a timeout or anything like that in it. But I think Control could definitely have like timeouts in between rounds.
Yeah.
As well, like similar to S&D.
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
But I mean, I think that would be the best way to go about things. I don't really see the timeouts or anything happening in Call of Duty because that would be on the developers. But yeah, I definitely think coaches should be able to be on stage and standing behind the team, hearing their comms and stuff, rather than just having to sprint up on stage every map and just grabbing like the little side headset and talking real quick.
Right.
Do you think that that's something we will see a little bit more of? Obviously, there's been a lot of criticism this year about how, you know, some people have been putting a lot of blame on David van der Haar, and then we've also had a whole different side of it where people have realized it's probably not David van der Haar, considering we know how passionate he is.
He can only do so much. I think it's like such like a big team with such like higher management and stuff above him with Activision and everything. I mean, he just, I don't know, like what I think wasn't he like the lead designer at Treyarch, right, or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, so much has to go through Activision and everything, so you can't really put too much blame on him.
So I think he's proven the fact that he is somebody who is very passionate about the competitive scene, and he is somebody who wants to see it grow. The problem is that I think, he's being held back on what he can and can't do, right, and where he needs to put his focus. Which, so that's basically where my question was leading. Though, do you think that once we go down the franchising route, we'll see a little bit more support from the developer themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think since it's at the point where they're trying to franchise things, they're kind of forced to put in more support at that point. If they're going the route where they're trying to franchise their game from a competitive side of things, they better be focusing on the competitive side, or it's not going to work.
Do you ever see us getting to a point where we're similar to League of Legends or CS or anything like that, where we, instead of getting a game every single year, we have a competitive Call of Duty and a public Call of Duty? That
I don't know if you can necessarily have both, but I would like to see it being one game every 2 years rather than one every year. I think 2 years would be really good, because I mean that gives like each developer, I think, like an extra, like, I don't know what the math would end up being, but I think each developer would get a lot more time to focus on their games. With, like the added year between like every single one.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Something Purify just dropped into chat. He said given that we're 5 or 6 months into the game at this point, what are your opinions on 5v5, or would you prefer to go back to 4v4 for the next game?
I don't mind 5v5. I think this game, it's hard to gauge because the health system and everything in this game is just so different to past CODs. I don't think this game would necessarily play out well 4v4, and I think 5v5 is fine as long as the maps are designed for it. I don't really have too much of an issue with 5v5. I think it would be shitty going back to 4v4 now just because of how much talent there is in the scene. So much talent to be left out of the Pro League. Also, I have to run to the bathroom real quick. I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
Go ahead.
No worries.
Just to jump back to one of the conversations we had at the very beginning of the show was about the Overwatch League ownership.
Yeah.
And so LG owns the Vancouver team, Splice owns the Toronto team.
Okay.
So they're both.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but the Weeknd actually just invested in Splice as well. So that actually makes a lot even more sense because he's obviously from Toronto as well.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. And him and Drizzy Drake.
I actually went to Toronto a couple of years ago now, and in my mind I kind of expected there to be like speakers all the way around the city just playing Drake just everywhere. Just, oh look, you're in Toronto, of course you got to listen to Drake music. And I was very disappointed, to say the least, when
I would spend a lot more time there.
It was just yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so he's from Toronto, same as Drake. Obviously, Drake invested in 100 Thieves. Now we got the Weeknd involved as well.
Oh. Very nice.
Interesting stuff.
Back.
Awesome.
Welcome back. Another message straight from chat is, what are your thoughts on MV potentially dropping Apathy? You know, he's typically a player that heats up later on in games. Do you think that's a risk at this point, or do you think it's something they've calculated and they're just the pros outweigh the cons?
Yeah, I mean, if someone's not performing well, I think you have to make a change. I don't think you can really give people the benefit of the doubt anymore with them. Oh, they're gonna get better over time, this and that. I think players are always under pressure to perform, and if you're not performing, your spot's never really safe.
Right. And do you think that's going to get even more intensified with franchising? As you mentioned, 8-man rosters.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to need to perform. I feel like that's why you're not going to see as much content creation, because people want this to be their full-time job. They need to make it their full-time job, like in and out of the game. They can't be streaming like pubs and stuff for 6 hours a day, then getting on and scrimming. It's just not going to work like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so I actually had a question as well, kind of leading off of back a little bit to the whole 5v5, 4v4 thing. Obviously, we talked about S&D. Do you actually think that maybe this game with S&D would play a little bit better though as 4v4 versus 5v5?
Yeah, I think S&D would probably play a bit better 4v4, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think it would be that big of a difference, but I definitely think it would play a bit better 4v4.
Yeah. And so do you think it's just down to, like, obviously it's down to the way the maps are created. Do you think that that's something that could potentially take a couple of years for them to get used to the 5v5 maps and 4v4?
Not necessarily. I don't think designing the maps for 5v5 should be too much of an issue. I think if it goes back to like a traditional Call of Duty style health system where like if people like are over peaking things, they're actually going to get punished for it.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fine if that's the case. I don't think the maps are... I mean, there hasn't really been too many great maps over the past years. So, I don't know. I haven't had the highest hopes for map design recently in Call of Duty. I mean, hopefully I get impressed by the maps next year, but I haven't really had too many maps that I've loved since probably Black Ops 2, honestly.
Since Dr. Disrespect stopped designing them?
He designed a few AW maps, although AW did have some good maps though, so
yeah,
I will give him
that. And so last question I've got from Reddit comes from BQ. So he said, as a coach, is there anything you wish you could do more of for your team or all?
Yeah, I mean, right now coaches don't have like too much control over the team. I feel like come the future, coaches will be able to be like more strict with their teams and like treat their players kind of like as their players rather than like their friends and stuff. Because right now, if like a coach raises their voice or something with their team, then the players are just gonna be like, "Fuck this guy, we want him gone." Like I'm not gonna listen to what he says, and then then you kind of just it's pointless being a coach at that point. So I think in the future with franchising, coaches will be able to have a lot more control like over their players, whether it comes to like handing out fines for being late to practice and stuff like that. And I think things will be a lot better when it gets to that established point. I think that'll happen come franchising when there's more guidelines set in place.
Right. Would you go to the extent of Hex what he does? You know, if your players leave trash somewhere, you're going to charge them $250 a piece.
That's an awesome thing to do. I definitely do that. I mean, people should just clean up. It's really not that hard. Like, learn to be an actual human being. I mean, a lot of Call of Duty players are still learning how to live life, and they need to learn. They need to get their shit together.
Yeah. You have to learn to be a functioning adult.
Yeah.
So one more question I have for you. You did mention, you know, we touched on CS a little bit. What other esports do you follow other than those two, or are they kind of your main focus?
Those are definitely my main two, but I've followed Smash for a while, especially Melee.
Okay.
I'm not really too much into MOBAs, so League and Dota aren't really my thing.
Right.
COD, CS, and Smash I've always been invested in. Halo I used to be really invested in until Halo 5. I didn't really have too much interest in that game.
Right.
I used to play a bit of Gears back in the day, but I mean, once again with the new game, I didn't really have too much interest. So I'd kind of say COD, CS, and Smash are my big three right now. Oh, and I also play a lot of Hearthstone and watch the tournaments for that when they come around.
Nice.
So do you have a favorite team or player in each of those?
CS, I always used to be a big Cloud9 fan, but I mean, they're
the rest of us. Yep.
They're just a shell of their former selves now.
Yeah.
Pretty much every team that I grew up to like love in CS is kind of like a shell of their former selves. Kind of pretty much with like the exception of NiP. So I always root for NiP still, because I'm a big like Force and Get Right fan. Okay. And I mean, right now Astralis are just too dominant. I mean, I would definitely like to see Liquid take the top spot and kind of hold it down for North America.
Yeah. And what about Smash and Hearthstone? Is there any
Smash? I've always been a Mango fan.
Okay.
And Hearthstone, I don't really have set like pro player who I like cheer for at events, but like stream wise, I watch a bit of MaDaC, but he's just more of a streamer who just climbs high legend rather than like competes and stuff.
Okay.
So I do just have a couple of questions from Twitter as well. First one, you've kind of touched on a little bit, but came from Call of Duty 20_19. He said, any bad blood with the EU management?
All right. Well, on the management side of things, yeah, it's definitely not. It's not the best right now. I have a bit of resentment toward them. I kind of want to like prove. I want to show that they made the wrong decision. But with the players, I don't have any resentment toward them. I kind of just have something to prove to them right now, I would say. But I don't really hate them by any means.
Right. Fair enough. Awesome. And then the last question, and this is the last question we have. I like this one as well. It's from Maverick TV. He asked, what made you choose Midnight over all the other organizations with the reputation they have now over the situation that occurred from the old Midnight roster?
Well, every other pro team has a coach right now, so the options were indeed a little bit limited. And I didn't really want to sit around and kind of wait and see if another offer came my way. I mean, I have bills and stuff to pay, and I mean, I've already got my first payment from Midnight, and as long as they're paying me, and I don't really have too much of an issue. But I do disagree with what happened with the old roster and stuff. But I mean, the contract I got, it wasn't really online with what has been said about the past, with them being locked into like super long-term deals and stuff like that. So I mean, I have no issues with them as of right now, but I do disagree with the whole situation in the past.
What was your opinion on the graphics they used to announce you as the coach?
I do think the graphics could use a bit of improvement, but they actually have been hiring new graphic designers for things. They've actually been like hiring graphic designers and having them do stuff. Just recently, I've been seeing, and the stuff they've been doing has actually looked really good.
I
And
do have
maybe,
to
maybe hopefully they do like a full rebrand soon. Because I mean, I think if they like fully rebranded things, it would look really good. I think they have a lot to work with here,
yeah.
and could make it look really good. But it's just a matter of just throwing out a little bit of extra money, and with how much like they're paying like the players and stuff, I definitely don't see why they can't throw a little bit extra to invest in themselves.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I did see the it was a Reddit thread about you know, how things turn around quickly, and it was your tweet about the
That was a good tweet. I had it.
it was pretty funny, I'll give it to you.
That was a good tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really like bashing the org by like any means there. I mean, it was just a joke. It wasn't anything like too crazy.
No.
Yeah.
No, we did have a good laugh about it even on
definitely.
the
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's like a
just
fine
after that.
line. Like if I was like straight up just talking all
Trash
types
talking,
of things about them, yeah, then it would definitely be a little weird. But I mean, that was just like a super
I mean,
lighthearted joke.
Yeah, it was clearly a joke. I just thought it was funny. You just, kind of came around very quickly. But anyway,
full circle.
yeah. So one last thing that we do like to do for our guests is give them a chance to kind of plug themselves. Where can our viewers and listeners find you? And go ahead and plug whatever social medias you'd like.
Standard Twitter's Brian, same with 2T's, same with my Twitch. Those are the two main platforms I use right now. I mean, maybe I'll start making my Instagram kind of more of a one related to myself, but it was kind of always just been like a little personal Instagram, even though I never really use it. Right. So I mean, I'll probably start getting on that wave soon, since I've been seeing like a bunch of players do it as well. But yeah, pretty much everything's always gonna be Brian Saintt with 2T's until I get the original Saintt with 2T's and just keep it clean like that. But I don't want to lose my check mark, and the account's like, I mean, it's like an inactive account on Twitter, but so maybe I'll get it in the future, but right now everything's the same.
How often do you stream?
Recently I've been streaming almost every day. I think today was like the first day in a week I didn't stream at all. Hours kind of fluctuate right now, but kind of now that I just got on a team and my schedule's kind of set at nights with scrims and everything like that, I kind of want to get in a routine where I'm getting like morning/afternoon streams going consistently. So that's something I'm working on, but I mean, I'm also trying to focus on myself, and I've been going to like the gym every day too, and I kind of gotta find a balance between when I want to do that and when I want to stream. So
yeah,
I think I'm just gonna need to start waking up earlier to get everything perfect.
Yeah. It's a struggle.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me on. I mean, man, that went for much longer than I expected. That was like an hour and a half around here.
Yeah, it was really good, obviously chatting with you, getting a lot of insight on your thoughts and everything that's been going on, not only with yourself but throughout the whole Call of Duty scene, obviously. So yeah, thank you once again for coming on. Hopefully we'll have you on again at some point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love talking about Call of Duty. I mean, I never really get a chance to just kind of go and just ramble on about it for a while.
Have a good chat. Yeah, for sure. Well, best of luck to you as well with the new team, and of course with the league and London event coming.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, I really appreciate you guys having me on, and I wish you guys the best of success in growing the podcast.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, I'll definitely be tuning into the future episodes now. I never really watched the prior ones because I don't think I ever saw them being publicized too much. So I mean, hopefully that changes in the future. I see more people start tweeting about them.
Sure. Yeah. We every time we do an episode, we stream it live on my Twitch. Next day it goes up on YouTube. Now at 10:30 a.m. The next day, and then we're also putting it on SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, and iTunes.
That's the way to do it, because I mean, with podcasts and stuff, most people want to just listen to them when they're out and about, rather than just watching like a full YouTube video of a podcast. So I agree with that, and I mean, I'll definitely be watching and listening to them in the future.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for having me. It's been nice.
Yeah.
Have a good
Thanks,
one.
Brian.
I feel like we're just hitting like these amazing guests, like back to back. Hang on, let me think. It was Saintt this week. Who was
Kenny was the last
Kenny?
one.
Yep, great. Parasite was.
Before that was Parasite.
There was just so much going on. It was hard to kind of concentrate.
Parasite was just weird. Yeah. We both were feeling sick as well that week, and then everything that just happened throughout that whole episode was it was strange, but
then who was
fantastic at the same time.
Parasite?
I believe that was Beezy.
Oh, Beezy and then Vandy, yeah, just.
And Vandy, yeah.
6 episodes, 5 killer guests, like. So, Purify just mentioned in chat. We've got to get Dashi. That is like absolutely one of our pipe dreams. I think for me, the pinnacle would be Crim or Scump, but Dashi is really
or Karma.
Oh, absolutely. Just. Whew. Anyway, I just want to. I'm going to do my classic plugs before we.
Of course, yeah.
Before we jump into anything else, please follow the show Twitter account. We have the CWL podcast. My personal account is just Stoney S7ONEY. MaDaC is MaDaC FPS. You can follow him on Twitter. You can follow him on Twitch. You can follow him on YouTube. His YouTube is just youtube.com/MaDaC. As you mentioned before with Brian, the show does go live. I believe you premiere it, so it's kind of like it's being streamed again.
Yeah, on YouTube at did I say 10:30? Let's say 10:30.
Let's say 10:30. And you can also find us iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and SoundCloud.
Yep.
Did I miss one?
Nope, that's all of them.
All right, and so I do want to touch on just a couple of things just before we kind of head out here.
Yep.
One of the things I think we touched on a little bit with Brian about the big orgs kind of making their way back into Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I feel like the franchise league offers such a big enticement, and I can't quite think of the word. There's such a big opportunity for these organizations. Whereas, before we saw Team Liquid and TSM, they were on the edge, and they sponsored teams to get into the league, and then when they didn't, they backed out. I think the security that the franchise offers is just going to, hopefully, assuming that Activision does it right, it's going to bring in these big names, which in turn will bring in the viewers, which will then bring in more sponsors, which will bring in more viewers, and it's just...
And again, we'll keep on getting more and more and more support from Activision.
Exactly, it's just a big upward spiral that they just got to play it right now and just lay the foundation correctly. And I can really see some big names stepping into the scene. Yeah,
I think we're obviously in a really exciting spot. I think we've got a lot of good things coming in the pipeline. The big thing, obviously, right now, like we've been talking about quite frequently, is the franchising. I think it's all going to be very interesting. I think only time will tell.
Right.
But I think with Activision being involved and obviously having done the Overwatch League already and things like that, I think that we're going to see it be successful. And I think that's just the main thing, is the execution, which I find it hard to believe that they can. Well, again, only time will tell.
A super exciting thing that I just realized: when we do get franchising, we can hope that we get Puckett and Mr. X back as a casting casting card.
Hopefully.
That would be phenomenal. I do miss those.
Hopefully.
2 casters. That is another topic I would like to get into another day, but just casters and quality that we have right now, I believe, is a little bit lacking. There's a couple of players I think are good, a couple of casters, I think are good, but
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we obviously did touch on that a little bit before on the analyst desk and everything else, and yeah, absolutely. I think we definitely need to improve in all of these what seem like small areas, but actually, obviously, a lot of viewers. I mean, I think you've said it yourself. There's certain people that will come on your screen and you will literally mute the stream because you don't want to hear said people talking, and I'm sure you're not the only person that feels like that, right? So we need to make sure that we're bringing in the best of the best and make sure that we catering to all audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe it's the time of the show. Let's hear some bold predictions. Unfortunately, we don't have any matches coming up, so we can't really predict awfully what matches are going to go the opposite way that we predict.
Indeed.
But we do have the roster changes.
Yeah,
though
we do.
I feel like with the COD burner, like so much information's out there, like it's hard to predict something.
Yeah, I think this is one of those weeks where it's gonna be difficult to really predict on much, to be honest. Especially, I mean, I mentioned it to you before we started the show, but been a little bit out of the loop this past week. So, yeah, I don't know.
Do you predict before the next show that my microphone will?
Oh, so here we go. That's a good one. No, not all.
Oh God, I hope it does. Also,
yeah, no, I can't see that happening.
I want to let you in on a little secret. Hopefully, over this weekend, I'm planning on completely rejigging my office and making it so that my desk flips around and that so my backdrop will be a nice, clear, grey, kind of eggshell coloured wall rather than the cat litter and other random shit that you see behind me right now. So, hopefully.
So, quick question, and I know we're pretty much wrapping up at this point, but I know we're only a couple of days away now from big premiere. How far are you into Game of Thrones?
Season 6, still got a long way to go.
Don't throw anything out. You know, might be some people who still haven't watched it. Those people, in my eyes, are called idiots. But
I actually,
yeah. So season 6.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on that. It's amazing to me, like
it's one of those things. Okay, so I tried to recently get one of my friends to start watching, and they watched like the first episode and stopped watching halfway through the second episode, and I'm like, dude, I get it, like the first season kind of sucks ish because it's a lot of groundwork that has just been putting down, but if you stick to it, it gets just better and better and better and better. Like when I was like rewatching that first episode, I'm like, man, this sucks compared to like the last seasons, like so I get it, but yeah, for anybody who's watching or listening or whatever who hasn't watched all of the Game of Thrones seasons, do it. Do yourself a favor and do it.
I will say, I don't know why I was just reluctant to watch it, and then
well, because you were one of those people that, like as I just mentioned, idiot.
Yeah, and then I stuck it out, and I'm just like, holy shit, why the hell have I waited all this? Purify. That's the rumor that I've heard too, that it's going to be announced tomorrow. We, unfortunately, as of this point, we don't have any insider knowledge more than you do, so we'll be also on the lookout for that announcement. Becca plays. Are you one of those idiots, or are you a big brain person watching?
No, this is definitely somebody who's not watched it. Let's face it.
Poor Becca.
So, with that being said, do you have anything else to add, Sam?
No. Just thank you, as always, to our guests and to our viewers or listeners, however you are consuming our content. We appreciate it. Hopefully, I will have my microphone, I'll have my new desk, my desk orientated differently, I'll get rid of this cold, and I'll just be a whole new person next week.
And hopefully everybody's watched Game of Thrones by then. So, without further ado, thank you everybody once again. As Sam just mentioned, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. Once again, we've had such an awesome episode. We already know who our guest for next week is going to be. However, I'm keeping it zip.
Yeah, don't say anything because they haven't responded to my DM yet, so...
No. Your guest is for the week afterwards.
Oh, well, it's lucky they haven't responded to the DM yet then.
Because I at least already know who the guest is for next week. I'm not saying anything right now. However, we will be announcing it on the podcast Twitter a couple of days from now. What day is it today? Thursday?
I think so.
I'm thinking probably either Saturday or Monday. I'm not too sure. But either way, go and follow us on Twitter, on the podcast Twitter, which is at the CWL Podcast. You can see everything that we do there. Obviously, go follow us as well. All of my social media is MaDaC FPS. Other than my YouTube, which is MaDaC. Interesting, quick little tidbit to throw in there. I don't know if you know this, but you can now change your PlayStation Network ID. So you could always change your gamer tag on Xbox. Now you can do it on PlayStation as well. Even my gamer tag on PlayStation is now MaDaC FPS. So you should probably do the same thing. Anyway,
I'm gonna make mine like MaDaC, but with a 4 instead of an A or something.
You're an idiot. You should also go ahead and follow Stoney for his controversially stupid comments that he makes. You can find him at Stoney, but instead of the T, it's a 7. And other than that, guys, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Once again, thank you all for watching. Oh, and I do just want to mention, for anybody who's interested, if you didn't catch the whole show and you want to watch it back tomorrow morning at 10:30, you will see it on my YouTube, which, like I said, youtube.com/MaDaC. It will be premiering. And also, if you just want to listen to the audio, you can find it again tomorrow. It will be uploaded to SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. Be sure to check it out in those places as well. So once again, thank you all for watching, and without further ado, guys, we will see you next time.